know, people have a lot of opinions about our family, people in our family, you know, good opinions, bad opinions. That's something that I've grown up with. But, you know, I can tell you that in our family, in my family in particular, I think, you know, there was a sense that, you know, we have to work twice as hard.
That was Caroline Kennedy. She's on a bit of a media blitz in her quest to claim Hillary Clinton's soon-to-be vacant Senate seat. The daughter of JFK sat down with 3 New York newspapers, but some of her comments have critics wondering if she's really ready to step up. Al D'Amato, former New York senator, is here. Liz Trotta, author, journalist, and Fox News contributor. Joel Mowbray, syndicated columnist. And Basil Smikle, Democratic political consultant, all join us today in our pundit pit. Thanks for being here, everyone. Let me start with you, Senator D'Amato. You know the rough and tumble world of New York politics.
Oh, boy.
Caroline Kennedy sat down with the New York Times and gave, I think, what can only be described as a fairly snippy interview to them. Is that ever a good idea?
Well, I don't think it's ever a good idea to sit down with the Times. That's my own prejudice. But the fact of the matter is that if they're beating her up and she should be their darling, you know what the others are doing, and they are really lambasting her. I think a little bit over the top. I think people have a right to say, well, what are your views? What do you think on national policy issues, etc.? But they're not doing that. She's the best thing, poor Caroline, that's ever happened to the New York media since I left. But, I mean, they are really doing a number.
But 1 second here, because in fairness to the New York Times, the question that they asked her, Liz, that got her so incensed was, what was the moment when you decided that you wanted to make a play for this? That's not an unfair question.
No,
and what she said in response was, hey, maybe you guys should write for a women's magazine.
I think that her political consultants have not prepared her well.
Okay, Liz, what do you think?
I would even go beyond that. I mean, I think the least that a voter has to expect of someone who's running for office or hoping to be appointed is that they be able to articulate their position. The woman can't talk. She can't speak. In that interview she gave to Dominic Carter of Channel 1, it was a 35-minute interview. She said, you know, 196 times. Now, that's a verbal tic. That is a person who cannot talk. So let's start right there.
That's someone who's worth $100 million, whose advisors don't want to tell her that she's doing something wrong, is what it says to me. I mean, when you have somebody who's been around people, you assume longer than just the past month, giving her advice professionally, somebody would have said something to her saying, you know really isn't the thing you should be saying or like all the time. But I will say one thing. This is better than the advice Sarah Palin got, which is one interview, wait a couple days. Another interview, wait a couple days. Because then everybody has something to focus on, to fix on. We all have different things to talk about. We have the Times interview. We have the New York Daily News interview. We have New York One. We have so many things to pick from.
Basil, you're a Democratic political consultant. What are her consultants doing wrong here?
You know, I don't know. I should be on the other side of this, but I kind of have to agree with you guys. She came out publicly and said that she was interested in this seat. She, at that point, really needed to hit the ground running, talking about issues, getting her message out. But the problem here is that she seems to be uncomfortable with the press. And if you're going to make a public statement about wanting this seat, you need to come across as being more comfortable.
And the liberal press, too.
And the problem is that we have a very short window in which to make this happen, and a constituency of one, which is the governor.
Absolutely right, guys. Stick around. We want to also talk about Rod Blagojevich and what is happening with him this week. We'll take that up when our pundit pit continues next. Illinois Lieutenant Governor Pat Quinn told Face the Nation this weekend that it shouldn't be long before Governor Rod Blagojevich gets his walking papers.
You said that you do believe he will be impeached by the House and removed by the Senate. When do you think that will happen, that he will be out of office?
I think it'll happen swiftly. You know, the 200th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth is February 12th of next year, and I don't think Governor Blagojevich will be governor at that time.
Okay, you heard it, by February 12th. Senator D'Amato, is that possible that Blagojevich could be impeached that quickly?
Oh, I think so. I think they want him out desperately, both locally, that's within the state, and the president wants him out. Right. This thing is a great distraction. He really is like a street thug. If you hear the way he speaks, and his wife, my gosh.
Joel, you're
SNL. Did anyone see the SNL parody?
No, I have to go to bed too early. What was it?
Okay, well, it's genius. They had the Senate panel, and then they had, you know, they had the same guy who does Joe Biden and everyone else, Jason Sudeikis, who did just an absolutely brilliant Rod Blagojevich. Everything was about selling this, selling that, including selling the dead skeletal hand of Abraham Lincoln with the ring, state ring on his finger. I mean, it was priceless.
Right, it's
and
great
true.
fodder. It's great humor fodder. But Liz, he hasn't been convicted of anything.
Well,
Let's remember.
This is a free society, and we do have a legal system, and the man hasn't been convicted. So all that we're hearing now is politics, and Patrick Fitzgerald now becomes the most important man in politics.
But he doesn't have to be convicted, Liz. Understand.
That's true.
He doesn't have to be convicted for them to impeach him.
And I think the senator is absolutely right. The president-elect, Barack Obama, does not want to have to be thinking about what's going on in his home state in the first 100 days of his presidency. He doesn't want to have to deal with that.
Okay, but again, you're a Democratic consultant. Would you have had Rod Blagojevich, other than not ever be caught on tape saying things like that, now, should he have been doing anything to make his case?
Listen, I can't say what's in the man's head, but what I would say is that if there is a shred of evidence that he is innocent of anything, he needs to be coming out and talking about it.
However, he has personal knowledge, Basil. He said so.
Yeah,
that isn't good enough for you? You're a discriminating critic. I want you to know.
Liz, it's a very inauspicious beginning for the president-elect. I mean, he's down there or up there or wherever, Hawaii, getting testy with reporters because he can't have a vacation. But the fact of the matter is he's from the Chicago machine. He's already got Rahm Emanuel in trouble. It took them weeks to get their act together on who said what how many times. So it would be very, very good for them to get rid of him. But he, you know, who knows what he knows?
I don't think he's from the Chicago machine, though. In fact, the first race that he ran against the member of Congress, like Bobby Rush, I believe it was, that was machine politics pushing Rush out there, and he realized after that loss that he needed to do something
Every
different.
one of his friends comes from the machine. Rahm Emanuel.
Obama played that system very well. Trust me.
All right, on that
he was on the outs originally, but he did a fine job right after that.
All right, we have to leave it there, everyone. Thanks so much for coming in. Senator Al D'Amato, Liz Trotta, Joel Mowbray, Basil Smikle, thanks so much for coming in, guys.